We are live. Welcome to the RG DFS Tournament Takes Podcast 2022, Week 1. I am so psyched this year. I negotiated. I felt like I was JSU's agent manager. You know, I was trying to get approvals to get the new team formed this year. And I'm excited to announce that we have the original Tournament Takes Podcast, the guy who put us on the map, back joining the show from Run Pure Sports now. We're doing a Run Pure RotoGrinders collabo here, but I'm psyched to have him back. JSU Rab. John, how you doing, my man? Welcome. It's good to be back.
It's great to be back, man. I love this podcast when we used to do it. Me and Kirkwood back in the day, we started this thing together, and we had some good success. I felt like people liked the pod. They enjoyed it. And obviously, things happen. I left for a little bit, but happy to be back on. Good to do the collab, Run Pure Sports and RG collab. And I'm happy to be on with my guy, Bobby Gomes, as well. I love this pod and I love football. So hopefully we'll give some winners to the people and have some fun.
That's the thing is I worked hard negotiating this thing. So I had to close the JSU deal. We were trying to get, it was potentially trying to get Tambo involved too, but I guess that didn't work out so well. But anyway, we got the JSU approval, and then we got the Bobby Gomes approval. So we're back, Massachusetts podcast here. We've got two Boston, JSU Worcester area, but this is so if you're Yankee fans and Giant fans and Jet fans, this is probably not the podcast for you. But welcome, Bobby Gomes. And for those that don't know Bobby, I'm sure you do know Bobby, but Bobby was the original Rainmaker winner, correct? Was that week 1, Bobby?
No, I was like the 7th, but I don't know. They ran those stupid commercials and then became like, oh, he's one of the first to do it. So yeah, I was like the 7th, me and my brother.
Regardless, he was the most televised Rainmaker winner in Draftkings history.
Bobby,
correct?
If you said you were the first to do it, no one was looking back to see. You could have just flexed on everyone and said, "Yep,
I could have flexed.
Do it." Right. You should have just ran with it.
I could have ran with it. I gotta be straight up though. I gotta give the right take, so it's the correct take.
But Bobby's a big football guy. Bobby's also been crushing this year in DFS. Congrats! I've seen you have had a massive season this year in baseball. I remember you shipped the big PGA JSU. I mean, it's nothing to him. It's like, okay, what else is new? Whenever I see like $100,000 screenshot with him, but he always hits for at least $100,000 whenever we do the pod, at least once. So I'm looking forward to when that happens this season. But it's good to have the gang back here. So let's talk some football, boys. All right, so we're week 1. We got a little taste last night. We're in full season swing of things here when Derek Carty chimes in with a already called, had his Cooper Cup victory lap yesterday after 1 game sample size. It's funny. 1 game sample size and victory lapping versus I always thought we needed multi seasons and tons of games, but regardless, we've got that going. We got a lot of us who missed on Cam Akers. Some people, we're right on Cam Akers. I know JSU was touting and where he over at Run Pure he was full Cam fade. So kudos to that. But week 1 is always dicey, man. Right? Like we think we know. We've followed some preseason. Some of us more than others. Shout out to me for just had a baby. Shout out to Bobby who just had a baby as well. Shout out to JSU who just got married. And so I'm sure a baby will be little JSU will be coming soon enough. Especially Big T said you've been hitting the workbench a little extra hard over the.
I love how Big T's just talking about my nightly activities like it's just nothing. Like he's just hanging out in the other room. Just as Big T knows more about my nightly workbench sessions. What is going on right now? He's talking it up.
He said it. That's what he said. He said it. I've got the evidence too. I've got the proof. It's by text. He said, "Oh yeah, JSU's having one no time with all the workbench he's been doing." That's what he said. So
I'm not going to say he's lying because that'd be lying. But what are you going to do right here? My guy, Big T. But I will just say too, for all the people, the Cooper Cup stuff. Are we just okay? He's the best player in fantasy football. I think it's clear right now. Cooper Cup is the best player. I don't think it needs a victory lap. I don't think that was a something that needs to be kind of said. But if you want to take it and go with it, I guess it's your prerogative to do so. So
no, what it was like, we're back already. That was one night and we got it. We're back in the swing of things in football here. So, and people definitely watch that Blitz show. I think that is going to be recording today too, as well. But definitely, that's always a good show here on RG too, Derek Carty. So, and we all like the Blitz projections. But all right, so we got 13 games. What stands out to me is we've got basically a 2-game top tier, at least by Vegas totals, right? Like anything over 50. So we've got the KC Arizona game with a 53.5 point total as of now. And what's interesting there is Rondell. I mean, every day it just seems like the Cardinals are getting thinner and thinner. They're obviously without DeAndre Hopkins, but now Rondell Moore looks like he's not going to be playing. I'll be shocked if he does play. I think I read a quote that said he was 50-50 from Cliff Kingsbury, but I don't trust a thing he says anyway. So there's going to be some massive value, if you think that this game is going to be competitive, but there'll be value for sure. But one of those value pieces is going to be like AJ Green. So we're gonna have to talk through that a little bit. The Chargers play the new revamped Las Vegas Raiders with the addition of Devontae Adams. That has a 52.5 point total. Then we have like a little next tier right there, right in the mix, which is Philly at Detroit with a 49 point total. We've got Green Bay at Minnesota, 47. Then we've got the Miami, New England game with 46, Indy and Houston game 46, and then just a bunch of other games is kind of how I look at everything. Anything stand out to you guys first? We'll start with you, JSU, just kind of a big slate overview here.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that just stands out very clear to me is the 4:00 games. So there's a bunch of 1:00 games, and then obviously the 4:00 games. I think 3 of them are going to be probably the 3 most popular games on the slate. However you want to, kind of order them up is kind of up to you. But I think a lot of people are going to be sitting with a lot of spots open as those 1:00 games finish and those 4:00 games start. And it's going to be really interesting because that there's going to be some game in that 1:00 that just comes out of nowhere, pops out, and has a big score, and it's probably going to be a lot lower owned. But it's going to be tough to fade some of these spots here at 4. I don't think it's a spot where we can just completely, fade all these 4:00 games. I think there's one clear game that's probably we're all going to agree that's not a great game in general at 4:00, but Green Bay, Minnesota, Vegas versus the Chargers, and KC, Arizona. Those are the 3 most popular for DFS. I know we're going to have some injury concerns with, I think, Rondell Moore, who had an injury in practice yesterday, a hamstring injury. So he's questionable to go. He was going to be someone who I think people went to as a cheap wide receiver filler. But there's a lot of cheap wide receivers in general on this slate. There's a lot of value. So those are the 2 things that stand out. I think those 3 4:00 games are going to be very popular. And then the wide receiver value is just massive.
Yeah. What are you thinking, Bobby Rainmaker over there?
Yeah, for me, JSU kind of hit on like the structure of the times for the games and stuff like that. I think just salary, common theme, week 1, it's always a little soft. So trying to basically anyone can build whatever build they want. So differentiating yourself regardless, not falling into too much chalk, playing some, and just being able to navigate your builds is going to be really important on the slate.
Did you get any money back from Rainmaker contest last night?
I don't want to talk. I didn't play.
You did not play Rainmaker.
I bought a legendary Cooper Kupp. I have number 1, but then I found out I needed to buy like more elites to play because I couldn't play the legendary Cooper Kupp in the Rainmaker contest. So it'd be a bigger field. And I was just like, I'm just going to sell this. But I have some Rainmaker.
Seriously, Rainmakers, it's not happening. Like, it's not happening. They tried. It's not going to happen. Not right now.
So you know what did happen?
DFS product, please focus on the DFS product and the betting product, and just forget about the Rainmaker stuff, please.
You know what did happen? Doesn't watch the show for me and Kirk's sake after that.
What
John Aguiar?
Sorry about it, Aguiar.
But Yeah, he's our good friend over here. But what did happen is when I was in the hospital, with for the baby on the way, I bought like 80 packs. And the stupid thing was I didn't know that I got the $40 pack, which was like the lower tier one. And I just went on a degenerate, like I just kept ripping because I kept getting elites of defenses and kickers. And I'm like, okay, so I thought I was just running bad. I didn't know that was all that you could actually get if you bought the lowest tier packs. So, oh man, so I've been trying to sell all these damn cards. But so basically,
I will say, Kirkwood, just to hit on this point though, real quick, I think the way Rainmakers was put out, it's still kind of confusing to a lot of people who are even buying packs. I don't really know much about it. There wasn't a lot of I saw there are some things where some guys are now explaining what it's all about and everything, and that's really good for the product. I just think they were a little late to the boat on that. There needs to be more tutorials on actually explaining it, because even me, I had a rep and he was trying to explain it to me, and I was still a little confused after our conversation about it. I don't know. So that's why I'm more against it. It's not.
I get it. The long and the short of it is so I know Wiley 77, he's put a ton of money in. He's basically looking at it as this is all these other guys are just like NFTs, at least in the higher NFT people. They're no badge people. So he's like, I'm playing DFS, against all these people with no badges. The problem is it's a lot of work. It's a lot of time involved. And it's all for the end of the day, it's all to just play DFS, right? Which is what we're already doing. And what it's too hard to even manage multi-site DFS.
We have a simple enough way to do it, is what you're saying. I already have an easy way. I click the players in that I want. I click submit and I'm done. And that's, if it was as simple as that, if they put a product out that was as simple as that, I'd be in, because it's just more fantasy and there's contests or whatever they do. But it's not as simple. Like you said, it's very, a lot of time needs to be put into it if you want to, be good and win. And that's my issue with it, so.
Yeah. So we already, and speaking of time, we probably just wasted 10 minutes talking about it. But all right, let's go on and say, so the first thing I like to do in every slate here is I like to check out the most plays. So I always look at the blitz, most plays, projected plays. And this week, you hit it right on the head. It's those last 3 out of the 4 games at the 4 o'clock level. So the Raiders, Chargers, is projected to have the most plays, then Green Bay, Minnesota, then KC, Arizona. Then what I always like to do is, I love my establish the run content. I always look up the Brandon Thorne up and pace, and those are the two top games for up and pace. The Raiders, Chargers, and KC, Arizona. They also have Philly and Detroit as being an up and pace spot, and also a kind of a flyer potentially on this Bengals offense humming, being a lot quicker, with a healthy Joe Burrow. So I look at that stuff. So, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go position by position. Should we start at the running back position first and then just lead quarterbacks into wide receivers? Do it that way, or how you guys want to do it?
I think
you're leading the show. I'm just following Kirkwood.
That's the way to do it. So we're doing running backs first. So I like to try to identify who I think is going to be the chalk, some great plays. Then I like to hear these tournament takes from each of these 2 crushers. So, all right, running back, who's going to be popular? So obviously Jonathan Taylor is going to be popular for damn good reason. I mean, whenever the Colts were favored last season, he absolutely smashed 5. If they were 5 points or more favorite, he averaged over 27 fantasy points per game. You look at the rushing props, he's got the second highest rushing yardage prop. You look at Houston's defense of last year. They were second last in yards per carry. Their defense still looks to be in some shambles this season as well. As long as he gets the right game script and you don't have to worry too much about Hines, vulturing, then JT should be an absolute smash. I mean, every running back smashed the Texans last year because that's just the easiest way to do it. So I don't see that stopping. The thing you don't get with him that you do get with an 8,500 Christian McCaffrey is all that passing game work, right? Like you know, McCaffrey is on the field for all 3 downs. Taylor's gonna get off the field, isn't gonna get those receptions. Now Taylor is a competent pass catching back. You know, he certainly has that in his game, but they go to Hines. I mean, that's their specialist. So that's kind of a big question this week is like Taylor versus McCaffrey. And then we've got some, then you could throw one more, Derrick Henry. You know, those are kind of the expensive guys because against the Giants. And he's similar in that. So it's basically Henry and Taylor with the true rushing production versus McCaffrey, who's going to get you a lot more passing game work. Do you guys have a lean there either way? Bobby, what are you thinking between those top 3 studs?
Yeah, so the first rule I made just going into my opto was I'm either using at least one of CMC or JT. Probably going to get more CMC, I think. But when I play JT, it's looking like he might be chalkier than CMC on RG premium ownership projections. CMC's around, it's going to scale up a little bit. So you really can't go off of what's there right now. I think I just prefer CMC because he's getting all the work, not really worried about the shin injury or whatever that is. They're going to use him. Matt Rule said that he's going to use CMC when he's healthy and he's going to use him to the max. So I'm fine using him. JT made a really good point. Naeem Hines got 10 million. He's their specialist. If the game script flips, you might not see as much JT. He is at 9-1 and pricing is soft. So a lot of these running backs are going to be cheaper than what they'll be in a couple weeks. So you can make the case to fade there. But the other side of that is Pittman's going to be very chalky. So that might knock down how owned JT actually is. So he might not come in at 20%, could come in a couple percentage points lower than that. I would just try to differentiate JT if I played him. And then Henry's like the GPP play at 8,600, squeezed right in between there going against the Giants. Their run defense couldn't stop a nosebleed last year. You're taking away pass catchers, which in situations where this has happened in the past, his passing game utilization is really, there's been an uptick. So I don't mind Henry. The weather isn't supposed to be great there. They're home. I think Henry's probably one, like after like CMC's my favorite, then JT, and then Henry closely behind. So I'll have to be making more concise decisions come Sunday, but I think they're all in play, obviously.
JSU.
Yeah, so the first thing I kind of see, and I think what's interesting about JT is, and I know we're not getting wide receivers, but you're looking at it, and Michael Pittman and Jonathan Taylor might be the 2 highest owned players at their position on the same team, which is kind of interesting to me. I think personally, CMC on DraftKings will be the highest owned at the end of when it's all said and done on Sunday. And I think on FanDuel, JT will be higher owned than CMC. Obviously, 2 different scoring systems from DraftKings to FanDuel, DraftKings to PPR, FanDuel to half-point PPR. So I think that's the case. So for me, though, it's a wash because I think in the end, no one's going to be like 30%, right? I think they're going to sit in that low 20s range, both of them. And so you're kind of just picking which one you like. I may actually play CMC on DraftKings and play Jonathan Taylor on FanDuel. Like, I think they're both very good plays. I don't mind if you want to do it that way, kind of go towards their strength. Jonathan Taylor definitely has massive touchdown upside. He's got one of the best offensive lines in football going up against the Jets, their favorites. I mean, you can't ask for more than that. So I'm sorry, Houston, they're going up against, but I would say that's how I'm going to lean it. CMC on DraftKings. The one thing I have an issue with CMC, but I guess it's not an issue for him personally, is their offensive line isn't great in Carolina, but I guess that just means he probably gets more dump offs, more pass catching situations anyways. So for him, it's okay to me, even if he's got a not so great offensive line. He's really been working with not great offensive linemen for most of his career. So that's how I look at it. I don't like Derrick Henry as much. I don't know about you guys, but I'm just not into the Henry fade. I actually kind of like the Giants to win the game, which is one of my contrarian betting takes, is I think the Giants are going to be a little bit better than people think. And I think Tennessee could finish third or fourth in their own division. So those are two kind of hot takes I have going into the season. I think teams are going to be way less afraid of who Tennessee has lining up at wide receiver.
I mean, that's got to make a huge difference. Losing AJ Brown and even a shell of Julio, they just don't have any of those big wide receiver threats at this point. And you don't have. It's not like they have the most dynamic quarterback either in Tannehill. So you would think that would just allow them to key more in on Derrick Henry. Now Henry does have the highest rushing yards prop, and he definitely is a huge red zone monster too as well. But game script really affects him in a huge way as well. So if you're thinking that the Giants are going to be winning this game and Tennessee may be playing from behind, that might obviously that might hurt Derrick Henry even more. The thing with McCaffrey, I mean, McCaffrey is too cheap. If this is the same Christian McCaffrey that we knew of 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and he is. Whenever he has been healthy, he has smashed, right? Like always. I read something now. He's had like 39 healthy games, over the last couple of years, and he averaged over 27 fantasy points in those games. So he also has the massive receiving prop, 46.5 yards. I mean, that's like a decent wide receiver prop right there. So, only thing is that the Browns were pretty damn good against the run, and they were fifth in DVOA versus passing backs last season. So it's kind of a tougher matchup, but he's been matchup proof forever. Just dump off with that guy. So I'm with you. I'm leaning as my first choice on DraftKings is CMC. I mean, just make it easy, right? Like take the peak guy who's going to excel in PPR, and maybe we'll get lucky and get a bunch of different bonuses in there. But that's the way to do it. So then we got to talk about, now we have like a lower range there. But so that's pretty clearly the top range. It's McCaffrey, Henry, Taylor. Then we get into underpriced Saquon Barkley, right? He's going to be very chalky. He's going to probably be just about as high zoned as these other guys here. And then another guy is DeAndre Swift for 6,800. We still have Joe Mixon in the mix at 7,100. And then the guy that nobody's talking enough about, I think, is Kamara. So I'm interested to hear your guys' takes kind of on that little group right there. And I mean, it's so deep at this position. We can keep going because there's Austin Eckler, there's Najee Harris. So feel free, if you guys have like a favorite play, to just if I didn't say them, go for it. But yeah, what do you guys think about like that kind of range?
Yeah, I mean, my favorite play is in that range. And for me, I think that overall, I have him the second highest projected running back overall, and that's Joe Mixon. I have Joe Mixon as the number 2 to CMC on DraftKings, and I think Joe Mixon, I mean, if he was the highest scoring player on the entire slate, I would not be shocked. That's how much I love him here. Their favorites obviously going against the Steelers. The Steelers were very bad against the run last year. They gave up, I'm pretty sure it was the highest yards per game at like 150 or 146, somewhere in that range. And I think the Bengals made the biggest improvements to their offensive line, which if you were to pull out one weakness from the Bengals last year in their playoff run, what was it? Everyone said it was, can they keep Joe Burrow upright? Their offensive line is not so great. They need help on their offensive line. Well, they went out and they got help. They got major help, actually, too. They didn't just get one offensive lineman, or they got 3 offensive linemen, 3 very solid 2 offensive linemen who are very good run blocking offensive linemen as well. So those are things that's going to happen. Ted Karras, Alex Kappa, and Lyle Collins are the 3 guys that I'm talking about. Add into Jonah Williams, who was a high draft pick from a few years ago, who was coming off a serious injury. I think it was 2 years ago or something like that. And then he had this year. He was okay last year. I think he's going to be even better this year at left tackle. And then all this added depth that they have, I think they're going to pound the rock against Pittsburgh. And I think Joe Mixon's going to have a big game. That's another one. I don't know if it's a hot take or not, but I think Joe Mixon could be the best running back on the board, point per dollar for sure at 7-1.
7-1. Yeah, that's a great take because he's kind of getting for like he's like you people keep mentioning him like 7th or 8th. You know, he's not like in that, he's not being played in that tier. So that's gonna probably steam down even further. You know what I mean? And as these other guys steam up. And you're right, they improved their offensive line. He smoked them last year. First of all, they, like you said, that you nailed it with they were second in rushing yards allowed, the second most rushing yards. The Steelers were last season. They got smashed on explosive rushing plays too. They were dead last in that category. And Mixon, he averaged 23 rushing attempts and about 128 rushing yards in each of their games and over 2 games last season. So yeah, I like that call a lot. And I just started. What do you think, Bobby?
Yeah, so I think you guys are right on with the Mixon call, especially versus that leaky Steelers defense. ETR and the blitz are kind of high on Mixon, so he might get a little bit more chalkier than what we're believing to be right now. Najee Harris also, he's another guy that's kind of popping there. Maybe he could be a little bit chalky. My interest in this range basically comes in the injury situations. Like James Conner at 7K is going to be overlooked. You're taking Rondale Moore out. James Conner is pretty much a 3-down back in this situation. Benjamin, like I'm not really worried about. I could see him getting more passes and being involved in a high-paced game. So interested in Conner. In JSU and me kind of talked about this the other day, but Aaron Jones, like if Lazard sits, he's going to see an increased role out of the slot more than likely in the Green Bay game. I have some recency bias with Aaron Jones. Don't play him a ton. But I think those guys, for me, are probably – I think those are like plays that might be more in play that most people aren't on as of yet. They'll gain ownership and steam as the weekend kind of rolls on. But I think they're definitely interesting GPP plays for that reason.
So, Bob, don't you agree, though, that the range itself is so loaded and running back as a position is so loaded? Should we really be worried about if a running back gets steamed from 9% to 14, 16, right? Like,
not at all.
That shouldn't matter.
Yeah.
So if Joe Mixon goes, because some sites are pretty high on him, obviously some projection sites that maybe we look at, obviously the Blitz you guys have over at RG is a good projection site that I know a lot of sharp players look at. We have SaberSim over at Rumpier Sports. ETR is another site I know people look at. If all these sites have him, it's still one of those ranges where the range is so loaded. Najee, it's the ownership. I wouldn't even worry about ownership at running back personally, especially with these guys.
And also, Jamar Chase and Higgins, they're going to get a lot of love too, and people aren't going to be playing Mixon. So that's the downside, right? Is that they have such electric passing weapons that the game script could go a different way than what we're anticipating. Also, there's a lot of talk about Joe Burrow just absolutely, passing this season. So you could see it go a different way. But I also, I think that he should be in that top tier, and the matchup certainly is ripe for a massive game. And it worked last season. Why wouldn't it work again? So I like that. My question to you, JSU, is you are predicting the Giants to win. So I have to imagine you're somewhat interested in the 6,100 Saquon, but he is going to be chalky. So how are you handling that?
Yeah, so I don't think Saquon is a terrible play. I think they're going to spread the ball out a little bit more with New York this year. I think he's going to have a lot more opportunities in the passing game, better opportunities too. I don't know how much success they're going to have on the ground, though, especially against the Titans. I think he's fine, but me personally, I like Mixon more. I like Aaron Jones way more. You guys, I think, Kirk, you said Allen Lazard was doubtful for Sunday. So if Allen Lazard is out, this is the way I view Aaron Jones. And the reason why I didn't even bring him up at running back, I think of him as wide receiver 1 for the Packers, because that's what he's going to be. He's going to play. He's going to get a lot of passing opportunity. He's going to be like CMC-esque, but I think he's going to play with Dylan way more than they even expected him to this week because there's no Lazard. He's going to option out into the slot and out wide. and Dylan is also going to get more opportunities because I
Wow.
think they play together. So my running back pool. I already know my running back pool. It's CMC on DraftKings for sure at the top. Jonathan Taylor probably on FanDuel at the top, and then it's Joe Mixon. It's the 2 running backs from Green Bay, and I'm probably planting my flag on those guys. Like I think that. Like I'm all in on those guys.
I was just gonna say, I wasn't even thinking that. Like, thank you for opening that up. So then I just like take a peek into Aaron Jones last season just to see what his target ceilings were. You know, I mean, so he had a game with 10 targets, a game with 11 targets. I mean, he went for 9 receptions on 10 targets for 129 yards against San Francisco in just receiving. And now he's got to be Rodgers' most trusted receiver at this point. I mean, Randall Cobb, I guess you can make the dust. You could dust him off, and and I'm sure that Rodgers will force feed some to Randall Cobb. But yeah, man, I wasn't even thinking that. So when I was seeing, I was like, damn, I'm all in on Aaron Jones. I was just thinking all of a sudden.
That's my point, though. There's so many good, and this is where Bob's really good because I think that he can find like the diamond in the rough when there's so many options. And Bob does a really good job in tournaments. He doesn't give himself enough credit, but I'll give him credit for it. But he's really good at picking out how ownership's going to go and where he can find the leverage in that ownership in every range. And that's why I like when I want to hear what Bob's takes are, because at running back specifically, there's so many damn options. You brought up James Conner, and I do think James Conner's a good play. I think he could be the workhorse again this year. He got a lot of opportunity in the goal line areas for that team. He'll probably get it again. That's my point. There's so many of those guys that at the end of the day, what's James Conner going to be, Bob? Like ownership-wise, like where's he going?
He's going to be very low owned, around 5% right now.
Yeah, 5% is what I'm showing too. Yeah.
We didn't even hit on Eckler or Swift. Like, this range is absolutely loaded.
Yeah, we didn't talk about Kamara. We didn't talk about Eckler. We didn't talk about Nick Chubb, who's getting some love on different sites. Dalvin Cook is like an afterthought, right? Like it's crazy.
At the end of the day, you can't just play everyone. That's why I like doing this, because we do these shows and we kind of start to condense our thoughts on these players and kind of make our own player pool on these shows. And I think a lot of people need to do that themselves. They kind of got to learn how to just say, like, listen, I could like 15 running backs on this slate, but I can't play 15 running backs. I have to put my flag down, plant down on 5 or 6 running backs, depending on how many lineups you're playing. And I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with in DFS. They try to get a little bit of everybody instead of saying, I'm going to plant my flag on one of these positions. And then maybe at wide receiver, I can have a little bit more differentiation because I'm so tight at quarterback and running back, or running back.
So running back is like like pitching in MLB. It's like we're most confident of our running back projections. We're anchoring our lineups with the guys we are most confident in, because we see that upside, and we will be shocked if it doesn't come through. So like Aaron Jones, like you just like after you broke that down, you just have to have that really good feeling, like, damn, 6,700. Alan Lazard's out. You know what I mean? He's got 10, 11 targets. Multiple times last season, dual threat. It's like, boom. Yeah. And like, I could honestly pick out, and this isn't even like a joke. I could honestly name 20 running backs plays right now that I really like all of them. Like we could get down to like Ramondre Stevenson, if we wanted to be homers here, but yeah, there's a ton. And then the only thing that
I want to hear your take on the Patriots running backfield. Give us.
Where was that going?
Ramondre is electric, right? Like, so like they're gonna either I expect Harris is gonna get the bulk for the beginning until like they get fed up with him or he gets injured, and then but Ramondre's got he's got the James White role now, supposedly, where he's the passing back, and I think there's room to grow on top of that, and he's freaking electric. You know what I mean? Like like you don't have to be a rocket science to watch them play to see like he can do some good for this team. Like he is the one. It's just how long are we going to have to suffer through Harris? I mean, maybe they'll be a dual threat, and like because that's their best shot, and they'll just keep running it down people's throats. But I don't know. I'm not very high on the Pats this season, but Ramondre is like my one guy I am. But I'm hoping I'll be like pleasantly surprised, kind of like how sometimes the Red Sox do. Like you're not expecting them to have a good season, and then all of a sudden. Not this season, by the way.
No, the Patriots running backs they were really valuable last year. I think there's going to be a little bit of a drop-off from the Patriots in general. I actually bet their team total under. I thought it was a good bet before the season at 8.5. That was another bet I made. I just think they're going to be third in the division. I think they're going to be third in the division. I think the AFC is stacked. And I just don't see it this year. I just don't see them. And as much as we're from Boston and we can be homers at times, I just don't think they're going to be, at the end of the day, better than Miami, better than Buffalo. I think they finished third in the division. The Jets are last, and that puts them around 7, maybe 8, but I don't think they get past 8. So I put that bet down. That was a bet I made. And, yeah.
Yeah, the only worry –
yeah,
they're
what is it, Bob?
Buffalo's a wagon, just all out.
Yeah, that was the easiest bet I've ever made in my life. Was last night Buffalo minus 2.5.
Quick question, James Conner, are you guys worried at all? Like that Arizona is just going to be awful?
I'm a little worried.
I'm not a little worried on James Conner. I just think that it's interesting in that range. But there's so many guys that are going to be low owned specifically in that range. Like Swift run back, I like if I had to pick my favorite, it might be Swift. Like looking at it, like 6,800. You can kind of pair him. Like there's going to be pieces in that game. I usually X the chalk QB, so I don't think I'll be playing too much Jalen Hurts. But maybe if I'm fielding Brown or playing Goddard, I'll have some run backs with Swift. But pricing's so soft that all these guys are in play. They're all going to be like 500 to 1,000, like more in this middle range, or like 500 more, I would say, by come 3 weeks from now.
Yeah. And I keep going to Kamara because just knowing that Atlanta has always been bad for receiving backs, they've just always, like, that's the way you've always beaten them. He's got the third highest reception yards prop for running back. He's top 8 in rushing yard props. I think he's going to have a bigger season than people think. I think it's going to be more, Ingram is just another year older now. There, but let's. I think we've kind of got a good understanding of where we like. I'll throw one more play out there. Do we have any interest in like Antonio Gibson as kind of the? I've seen
him kind of hit some optimals. They're at home. They're obviously favored versus the Jaguars. A lot of people are going to correlate them with the Washington defense. So I guess he kind of makes sense. There's no one there. I just don't know how much I'll have because I'm trying to spend up at running back currently.
All right. Let's move it on over to QB.
I don't like Antonio Gibson. I'll just throw that out there, especially if he's going to get ownership. Like I can't play a guy who I know the coaching staff wasn't really in on before the season started. They drafted Robinson, who has the unfortunate, situation come up with him, but like they clearly don't really view Antonio Gibson as the guy. If they spent the quality draft pick on Robinson, it seemed like Robinson was going to be the guy, at least to start, and then they go, and that happens, and now Gibson's back in. But I don't know. I just can't play it if he's going to be at all popular at running back. I rather take dart shots. Like I don't think the Patriots defensive line is going to be that great. I could see one of these Miami backs having a decent game. That's one thing. Like you're going to get low ownership on a guy like Chase Edmonds. Maybe they use Mostert a little bit. If you're in the Millie Maker, I don't know what his price is, but maybe he at least knows the system too. You want to talk. He's probably the most comfortable because he's been in the system that is moving to Miami because they got a new coaching staff and everything, and it's from San Francisco. So I don't know. That's just a Millie Maker dart that maybe people could use. But yeah. I definitely
like the Dolphins running back call.
I want to bet on the Dolphins.
Yeah.
I bet on the Dolphins already. I like the Dolphins.
I mean, it just seems so. Like you look at the new team, the way they're set up with like Tyreek, with Waddle, they're like a bunch of small, super fast, like. So it's usually like
they're set up like San Francisco, right?
Yeah.
Like, tell me they're
No,
not
it's like everywhere. So it's like you can't just take away Tyreek Hill because you got Waddle, you got all the. It's like you can't do what the Pats always do, and it's like there's going to be just too much for them to handle, and then the offense of the Pats is just not very. I don't expect it to be very good, and I don't know. But let's talk.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
No,
off.
go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean
the Patriots defense is also like very slow. So if they're running these like end arounds with Waddle or Tyreek or they're just gonna burn. Like Mostert's a burner. Like, yeah, I really like Miami too this week. I'm with the both. Dylan is another guy in that range we should probably think about.
I mean, I already talked about him. I love Dylan.
I like Dylan a good bit.
That's why I won't have as much of the Miami backfield, because I'll probably have more Dylan. But yeah, he's definitely a good play. Again, I could see him as RB1 and Aaron Jones as wide receiver 1. Like I literally could see that happen at the end of the day.
Yeah, I'm with you. I could see that being the case. And that's the interesting thing, is a lot of people aren't going to play both running backs. On that $5 milli, we kind of had this conversation the other day, but that's a differentiated construction.
Oh yeah, the $5 milli. I got all the 150 tickets or whatever for that thing.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize I guess they were doing a promotion. But anyway, okay, so let's talk about QB. QB really doesn't matter, right? Like, or big thing. There's not going to be some glaring 35% Lamar Jackson, like, or anything. There's Lamar Jackson, but he's not going to be heavily owned. It's going to be like a bunch of guys under 10% owned, regardless of where you go. Mike and single entry stuff, and you might see a little bit more of like Hurts, Kyler, Mahomes, like that, the top ownership guys. But for all intents and purposes, I don't think it really matters that much. But I mean, the guy who at least is going to be chalky for cash and probably the single ownership stuff is Jalen Hurts. I think there's good reason. I mean, a lot of people are extremely high on him, which is funny because like people were extremely low on him before last season, but all of a sudden he's the guy. They've been letting him rip in preseason, which was good. They have Philly has like an incredible O-line, D-line mismatch, according to over at ETR for who does the offensive lines. Detroit was 27th in DVOA versus the pass. They've added the big play guy, A.J. Brown, who is absolutely electric. They also have Devontae Smith, who is very electric as well. So they also have Goddard, who's healthy. So they have a ton of options to let this offense rip. And I mean, this dude runs a ton. Like this dude is going head to head with like Lamar for rushing yardage. So yeah, I've got nothing bad to say about Jalen Hurts. The other guy that's going to be popular is Kyler Murray. I'm a little bit worried as he's losing more of the options, but you know he does have the new Marquise Hollywood Brown to join there, you know, and KC has struggled with the deep ball always, and Kyler Murray's a pretty accurate deep ball passer, and you know Brown is like he's gonna have a massive target share, don't you think, Marquise Brown?
I think he should.
Probably.
Yeah, one of the things it's like two midgets playing catch pretty much with Marquise, and
we got to pull height into this already.
We got a short shamer here. We got a short shamer.
I'm not a short shamer, but I'm just saying, like, you really what these they got a big offensive line.
It only took us 43 and a half minutes for you or someone else to bring up the height. 43 and a half minutes on our first show, Bobby, together, and you're already talking about height. Just go.
Classic
short people.
Classic short shamer. All you short people out there, make sure you flame Bobby on Twitter at Bobby Gomes DFS.
I love the short guys.
And especially we were just talking about the short dynamic passing game in Miami, right? You know, and
he loved Miami, and then all of a sudden he's against the short people. That's what I heard.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yep.
We got Patrick Mahomes. The thing about Mahomes is like we don't know we don't have the Tyreek anymore. You know, it's it's Juju, which we're not sure. Like, so they like Juju almost feel. I guess he feels better than like when they got Le'Veon Bell. Like you knew like that was going nowhere. But like, I'm not sold that Juju is going to be very good, but maybe. I think he's going to have the opportunity, so we'll be interested to see that. But also those quotes with Mahomes saying it's going to be someone new every week. Sorry, you fantasy players. Like I hate reading that. But the one guy that we can count on is Kelsey. But like in games that they're just comfortable and like just crushing the opponents, Kelsey won't be used as much because they'll probably try to save him a little bit. But as he gets a little bit older here, but like I guess Mahomes to Kelsey is an obvious stack, but Mahomes is a great play if this game stays competitive, which I'm starting to worry about. But whenever I do worry about it, it's usually like what it'll end up being like Arizona ends up blowing out KC for some reason like that. But and then other than that, there's like Burrow, Herbert, Lamar. I mean, we got them all. So who are your favorites? Start off with you, Bobby.
Yeah, so going back to Juju opportunity, Juju's going to be getting a lot of opportunity to do TikToks with Jackson Mahomes this year. But no, I don't mind going to Mahomes. It's just I want to usually roster a QB with more of a condensed target share, and obviously Kelsey is that. But the other weapons, the ancillary pieces, I just don't have much faith in. Want to see it kind of play out, and I want to double stack Mahomes most times, right? Like I'm not single stacking Mahomes. The rushing equity, I don't know. He has it, but he doesn't really go there. So it makes it tough. So you're wasting lineups if you miss on Juju or just trying to figure out who to stack: Mahomes, Kelsey, and then someone else. Yeah, Kyle.
Do you need someone else?
I think if you're playing I think Mahomes needs to be double stacked because he lacks the rushing equity, right? So that's kind of. I love Kelsey. I'm going to play him this week. I just don't know if I'm going to time to Mahomes. So I don't want to pick between MVS, Sky Moore, and Juju.
MVS is getting touted very hard.
Very hard.
I love how you convenently just leave out McCole Hardman in your 3 wide receivers.
Short? He didn't make the height?
So
yeah,
I think
he didn't. Go for it.
I think it was because I've read reports that McColl's going to be like the number 3. He's not going to assume the regular usage. Like people think he's going to step in.
So you just said Juju, MVS, and Sky Moore. That's 3 receivers right there. You left out McColl.
McColl's going to fight with Sky for playing time. So like he's not going to be. Everyone thinks like because he's been on the team, he's going to step in. Currently, right now, beats are saying that it's not going to be that way. It's going to be MVS and Juju first. So.
Call him short. Just call him short.
Is he short? I think he's a little. He's like over.
Is he what? I don't even know what he is.
I mean, he's probably like 5'10", 5'11". Someone look this up right now. How tall is he? It's got to be an easy. I think he's 5'10". Bobby thinks he's over 6 feet. So either way, he's not.
He's 6 feet. I would say. He's short too. Everyone's short these days, huh?
You putting 5'10" as short?
He's 5'10". He's 5'10", which means he's probably 5'9".
I killed to be 5'10". Are you kidding me right now? Are we serious? 5'10" is short. I would kill to be 5'10".
JSU used to put 5'9" on the dating profiles when he was doing it back in the day.
The basketball. Up. You know the like high school like promo
used
things
to bump your height
in,
up.
they give you when they walk in, they give you the list of everyone that's playing, and they'd have your name and your height and all that, like guard or whatever. I would totally put like 5'6". 5'6". That's.
Whoa! What happened there?
I don't know, but that was cool. It sounded cool.
It reverberated. That was good. Wait, we're talking about QB still, right? Are we making the top?
Yeah. What do you? So we didn't talk about Burrow, Herbert, Lamar.
I would prefer Herbert just because he's in that high total game. It's the afternoon game. He's going against a Raiders secondary that isn't the greatest. He has the weapons. Keenan should absolutely burn that slot guy. I forget his name, but I know he's getting older. But Keenan, you can kind of play him. When Keenan's just a savant over the middle, I have no issue playing Keenan. So I like him with Herbert, Mike Williams. We didn't hit on Eckler, so you're basically in a situation where this whole stack is in a really good spot, and all the ownership is going to be spread out for the Chargers. I like Lamar. I think Lamar, you don't have to double stack, so you could just pair him with Andrews. The question is, are the Ravens going all in? I think Lamar's incentivized. He didn't get the contract that he wanted, so he's up for a big week. And the Ravens have third. I think they led third in terms of fantasy points given to a tight end. The stack's right there with Mark Andrews. So those would, if I had to rank them, my top would be Herbert, Lamar up top. Herbert and Lamar would be my two favorites up top. Kirk, you there?
Yeah, is JSU, are your volume okay? You hear us? Okay.
He said keep talking. So
keep talking. All right.
He might be out.
Okay. Yeah. I'm the only one we didn't talk. I mean, I like all these guys, so it's whoever I like to stack up first. I guess if I'm gonna narrow one down, I mean, I want to play Burrow because of the electric weapons he has, but if I'm gonna sell myself on Mixon, and maybe that's the one to kind of fade and play it that way. Herbert for sure. I mean, I want to hear your take on Derek Carr with Devontae now. I mean, Derek Carr has always been like the ultimate game manager. What are we thinking this newly revamped offense is going to look like now, where they can't just key in on Darren Waller because they got the best receiver in the game?
Yeah, I think Carr is a very good play this week. And you're taking away J.C. Jackson. I don't think he's playing, if I read the last report correctly. So Devontae should be someone who I think was going to come in lower owned over the last month. People have been looking and thinking Jackson's going to play. So people looking at salaries, they're not going to play Devontae. I think Devontae is firmly in play with the stack with Carr. My favorite receiver is Renfro. Maybe assumes that Julian Edelman role in this Josh McDaniels offense. And with that being the situation, like he's already burned this Chargers team repetitively last year. So I think Renfro would be my favorite. But Waller's down there at 5-4. Like this whole Oakland Raiders stack is firmly in. This game is going to be the game that a lot of the sharp players are on, I would imagine, just because you can spread out the ownership on the stack. They're not going to be too highly owned, and it's a very highly totaled game. So I don't know. I really like Carr. I really like Herbert. They'll be in my player pool for sure.
You guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. So I'm back. I think my sound okay.
Perfect. Yeah, you're good.
All right. So you guys
are
talking about quarterback.
It's not a little short over there though.
Yeah, it's even short. Cut short.
All right. Where were we at with quarterback? I lost you guys for a second.
So give us a take on I was thinking that if we're going to sell ourselves on Mixon, we should probably be lower on Burrow, even though Burrow has extremely good passing weapons. But then we also have Herbert. We've got Lamar. I'd like to hear your thoughts on Derek Carr, who's usually the ultimate game manager, but now has a bunch of really skilled weapons that they can't just key in on anymore. So I want to hear your take there.
Yeah, so for one, I think at the top range, if we're looking at Hurts, Murray, Mahomes, and Herbert, and Lamar, I'll throw Lamar in there as well, I prefer Herbert. You got a guy who, in my opinion, it's going to be a competitive game, and I'm higher on the Raiders too than most, so I do think there's going to be some back and forth. So I would prefer taking Herbert over Mahomes, who – if I'm playing Mahomes, I think it's in like a milli setting where I can stack him and have a bunch of different Mahomes stacks in my 150, spreading out the wide receiver. Because Bob was talking about it. He's like, well, it looks like the beats say it's going to be this guy and this guy. But then Mahomes is saying, hey, listen, it's going to be a different guy every week. I personally think outside of Kelsey, it probably will be a different guy every week because Mahomes will spread it around. I think he could easily end up just spreading this thing around and it not be like one or two clearer guys after Kelsey. And so if I'm stacking Mahomes, I want to just have two pass catchers with Mahomes and make that a rule in my 150 and then just have a bunch of different combinations. That way I'm not like, oh, I don't have any McCole. I don't have any Juju or MVS or something like that. In the way I do it, I probably wouldn't play Kelsey in the Millie Maker formats. I'd probably stack him with two wide receivers just to give me a little more differentiation, because I think a lot of people who play Mahomes in the Millie Maker will play Kelsey for the safety and then try and pick the right wide receiver as their second guy. So who knows? Maybe you get lucky and you get MVS and McCole who come out there and catch 3 touchdowns together, or it's Sky Moore and Juju. Who knows? That's my thing. I don't like the guessing. When I play Herbert, I can play Mike Williams, I can play Keenan Allen, I can play one of those dudes, and I feel very good about it. And then if I want to play a third guy, a Palmer or someone else, and hope I get lucky, that's fine. But I feel good about that one guy for sure. Same thing with like Derek Carr. I got Darren Waller, I got Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, those 3 dudes, and I can pick 2 and I can play them and put in my Derek Carr stack. So I really like those 2 quarterbacks from that game specifically. I'm going to be lower on Hurts, Murray, Lamar just lower on because they're playing the Jets. Like, I think once they get up, they're just going to run. Could he have 2 touchdowns on the ground and a touchdown or 2 in the air? It's very possible, but I'm just not going for the blowout game against Joe Flacco, where I think they could just dominate. So I'm staying away from him. And then just kind of looking at the list down, I like Jameis Winston and Millie Makers at a cheap price tag, 5.3K. If I'm playing Kyle Pitts, I can bring it back. My Jameis stack would be preferably him with either Kamara and 1 wide receiver or just a wide receiver. But I think he's interesting at that cheap price tag. And the last guy is Kirk Cousins that I'm interested in, only because I'm so high on the Green Bay side. And I think one of those Minnesota wide receivers, another condensed situation from a pass catching standpoint, you're either playing Jefferson or Thielen, and you can run it back with Kirk, and it makes for a nice little stack with the running backs.
Last, Daniel Jones thought?
I'm not going to play him here, but I do think he could be improved and be someone that we look at for DFS stuff maybe a couple weeks down the line. I just hate it. It's a new system. You know, how good is he going to be that first game in the new system? I don't know. I worry about it just a little bit, but I obviously like the Giants. And I'm higher on the Giants than a lot of people. So you could do it. I'm just personally playing like Jameis in that cheap range. How cheap is he? I'm trying to find him right now.
He's 5K. He's 5K exactly, Daniel Jones.
Yeah, he's fine. I just personally prefer Jameis.
The last guy I was interested in is Tua, but I like it, so I'm torn, right? Like, I like it, like you said, he's got like the cheat code now, right? He's got like a bunch of guys who he can throw a 2-yard little out to, and they can just take it to the house, right? And he doesn't have to throw massive deep balls, but they can. But so he has those weapons. The only thing is I'm worried about like just the Patriots milking clock with running plays all game.
No, I think that makes sense to have that. That's kind of the same worry that I have, especially with weather. Supposedly in that second half, it's supposed to be raining. But it does, like, Tua, you can single stack Tua too at that price. You don't have to double him. So you can go Tua Waddle or Tua Tyreek. I think I'd prefer Tua Waddle. Davis Mills is another one I think is interesting to like differentiate Jonathan Taylor lineups for talking like lower owned quarterbacks, just because like Waddle I think Waddle 6'1", Brandon Cooks is like right around 6'1", and then AJ Brown the chalk is at 6'4". So Mills to Brandon Cooks I think is pretty interesting. You don't have to really double stack Mills. You could with Nico Collins, but I don't know. They're just ways to kind of differentiate JT builds. If we do think JT is going to be like supremely chalky, so supreme chalk.
Little Baker revenge.
Baker's tied to the guy everyone likes in the slate, right? So if you want to differentiate McCaffrey, I don't think it's the worst idea. And DJ Moore at 6K.
Little DJ, yeah.
My issue is if you play Baker, I think you need to find someone on the other side. And who do you play on the other side that you feel super confident in?
And they're also a team that runs the clock out completely. So if you're worried about that with the Patriots, like you should definitely be worried about that with the Browns. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be Amari Cooper or Chubb or something. But all right, let's move it on over to wide receiver. Let's start it right off with the chalkiest, Michael Pittman at 5,500. Yes, I'm big on Pittman this season. He's obviously the wide receiver one. You know, he's going to have so much opportunity. He had a lot of opportunity with Carson Wentz, right? And he still performed fine. Great. He was 15th in receptions last year with Wentz. So you have to expect that to go up with a more competent. Now, Matt Ryan isn't great, but he's a better passer for sure than Carson Wentz. I still think he kind of sucks too. But, Pittman, 25th target share, 25% target share, 31% air yards. Problem is this is a game that could very easily be all Jonathan Taylor, and that's all they need to do against Houston. So I get it. How are you guys going to play it? We've already talked about it a little bit, but give me a firm stand on how you guys are going to play it.
Do you want to go first, JSU, or me?
Go for it, Bobby.
Yeah. So for me, I think I'm Xing Pittman just because the opportunity cost in that range, I think, is very strong. You have Adam Thielen there. You have Elijah Moore there. You have Christian Kirk there. I think they're all guys that can beat Pittman. On the other side of that is I'm not playing Pittman with JT. JT's rushing prop now is right at 100 yards. I think that game script will probably stay what it is. So I probably, if Pittman catches the ball, it takes away from JT. So I'd rather play my JT. And I think there's other wide receivers that are around there that, like Chris Olave, you could play if you like that Atlanta game. He might be like 4K. I'm just thinking within the 5K range, like Darnell Mooney versus that San Francisco 49ers offense. If you want to play him as a one-off, I think he's fine. Thomas is there. Renfro's at 5'8". I think Renfro's a very good play on the slate. So there's all these guys around Pittman that I just don't have that I think can match him or beat him. So I think he's going to be an X for me at this point.
Yeah, I agree. Week 1 chalk, right? Like, what could go wrong?
Yeah, what could exactly.
And then there's a ton of guys, like you said, like there's even guys like Thielen, Rashad Bateman. There's so, like, every range is so stacked.
But if he's going to be the chalkiest player on the slate, like, he's the one we should be looking to. Yeah,
it's probably going to be Marquise Brown. I'm thinking will get steamed up to be the highest. Once
Rondale Moore potentially.
Yeah, once these projections getting bumped up with Moore out, because everybody still has Moore in.
Marquise, I think it'll be close.
I think it'll be close.
I don't think those, like, high-end cash games players would go and play Marquise in, like, their cash game teams.
Oh, they will. They certainly will. If you see if ETR, the blitz / Saber, everybody gives him the, bumps up his target share and he becomes the top value in the play. They just trust the projections.
I'm just super tentative with Marquise Brown.
No, this is like the debate I have. So, like, when Cardi was, like, in baseball, for instance, he's like, if you don't play Dan Vogelbach in cash, you're just bad. One night on a slate, he said, and I was like, wait a minute here. Like, yes, I get it. He's in cores and he's cheap, but, like, he's all home run or nothing, right? Like, so there's, like, something, and that's how we've known Marquise Brown to be, and he's been like that, like, all home run or nothing. So yeah, I get that.
Yeah, he's 6'2" too. Like, these other guys are down, like, in 5'5" between.
I would say too, honestly, remember this: Marquise Brown, is he all home run or nothing? Because I remember some games last year where he was racking up some catches and he had some pretty high catch numbers. I know even a few years ago, I think he won me a big contest on Yahoo, and he had like 10 catches for like 104 yards in a touchdown, and Mark Andrews had like 2, and I'm just thinking to myself, oh, that's kind of rare. But then we saw it a little bit more. Yes, did he make big plays? I'm not saying he wasn't a big playmaker, but I'm just saying, don't forget, this offense in Kyler, they lost DeAndre Hopkins. He's the stick mover, right? He's that guy. Yeah, he'll make a big play every now and then, but he's that guy you need that 8 yards, that 12 yards to get that first down. They don't have that guy right now.
They lost everybody. They lost Christian Kirk.
They lost Chase Edmonds, who was another guy who made plays.
They lost, and now they're losing Rondell Moore. It's like,
so my point with this is don't be shocked if Marquise Brown had one of those games where he had 8 catches on 12 targets for I wouldn't be stunned. Like,
no, I wouldn't either. And he was getting more as last season than he ever had. He was becoming more of a consistent, if you look at like, at least in the first half of the season, I mean, he was going like 10 targets, 14 targets, 12 targets, 13 targets, 10, like he was having a stretch. So
what I agree with you on though, Kirk, is I think they brought him in to be the Christian Kirk, like that downfield guy with DeAndre, right? To be that stick mover. It's just, so now they're down to Zach Ertz, Marquise Brown.
Injured Zach Ertz too.
Injured Zach Ertz, yeah. Who knows? I'm assuming he plays, but I don't know. And then James Conner, and who they got left at wide receiver? Andy Isabella?
Do they have Isabella? I was wondering that. Do they still have Isabella?
I think they do still have Isabella.
So he could be the deep threat, and Marquise could be one of the guys moving the chains, right?
Yeah, it's Isabella's. I mean, they're going to have to. I mean, I don't know, unless you guys are high on Victor Bolden Jr.
No.
No.
Formerly of the USFL Binghamton
Rondell
Stallions.
was ruled out, so if we already covered that, and I just totally
he's officially out?
He's officially out, yeah.
Okay.
This was like 20 minutes ago, too, so he might have. Yeah. I just missed
it's AJ Green. I mean, I'm going to play AJ Green.
Oh, jeez.
This is the week to play him, so I wouldn't fault you.
Wait, no, you're not serious, right?
I'm going to play him.
AJ Green?
AJ Green. I mean, there's no other. It's
no. You guys are messing with me now.
There's nobody left.
Oh God.
He's tall. He's tall.
He's tall, yeah.
Bobby gave Grant blessed him.
I'd rather play that.
If you tell me good freaking plays on this slate, you are not playing AJ damn Green.
I'm probably not going to play him, but
I need to lie down.
I don't know. I feel I just have major reasons.
Can we time out this podcast? Can we resume in 5? I need a quick break. I need to lie down. You're not playing AJ Green.
No, I'm not playing it, but he's more in play when you take over.
I have to play. I have him in a Rainmakers contest.
Oh, the truth comes out. The truth comes out.
I needed the cards. All right. So
I'm hoping he catches a TD so Kirby can get some Rainmakers dollars.
That's right. Make it rain, baby. Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Devontae Adams, Tyreek, AJ Brown, kind of that top 6,400 to 8,000, like that range, like kind of the stud range. Who are your favorites, JSU?
Yeah, so for me, just looking at the top, I'm going to say at wide receiver that if I have to pick one, it's going to be with my stacks though, right? So it's kind of I'm higher on Herbert and Derek Carr, right? So obviously I'm going to have love for Keenan Allen. I'm going to have love for Mike Williams, Devontae Adams, obviously. I think the guy though, if I have to plant a flag and say a guy that I'm probably going to be a little under on, it's probably going to be Justin Jefferson. And I think that's a hot take because I think he's going to be popular. And I do actually like Kirk Cousins. This is the other thing. I just think Adam Thielen is such a good value play and a great pivot off of Michael Pittman. And this is where Bobby talked about there's just so many other plays that we can play in that range. And Adam Thielen, people forget this because obviously he didn't play that much last year. He got injured a little bit. It just didn't work out for him last year. But that dude was a touchdown monster, absolute monster on this team when he was healthy. And all the attention is going to be Justin Jefferson. Dalvin Cook, they're going to get a lot of that attention. What does that mean? That means we're going to get a lot more of Adam Thielen being like the Gabe Davis, where we saw last night what happened, right? Gabe Davis was not targeted heavily. It was a trick. It was kind of like a trick play where he got the touchdown the first time. And then that second bomb he caught, that was man-to-man coverage. Josh Allen saw it. They even said it before the ball was hiked, I'm pretty sure, that Gabe Davis looked like he was going to be singled up. They realized it. So obviously Josh Allen knew it. And then friggin' just bombs it because it was one-on-one. It wasn't like he was getting peppered. I think Adam Thielen is a similar spot where if Kirk Cousins realized all the attention's to Justin Jefferson. He ain't going to force it if he's got Thielen, and Thielen's going to end up with a big game. And I love Adam Thielen. So that's why I'll be a little lower on Jefferson. It's not that I think he's bad or I think he's a terrible play. I'm not saying that. And if you're playing a ton of Kirk Cousins stacks, you probably should have a little bit of both if you're playing multiple lineups. But for me, I'm probably going to be heavier on Adam Thielen. So I got Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Devontae Adams in that range. And Tyreek Hill would be the fourth because I think Tyreek Hill could end up being like Deebo Samuel in that Miami offense.
Yep. I will say that he also has a tough matchup. I mean, they could shadow him with Yair Alexander. They don't usually, probably won't, but they could. But everybody's good in that secondary. So like that, it is a tougher matchup too there. So that can give me some pause. I mean, there's so many good plays looking down here. I'm like Amon-Ra St. Brown is like the obvious bring back for the Lions. I'm high on him this year. Bobby, what do you think of him?
I like him a lot. And he's 6,100 too, so he's right under AJ Brown's price at 2,400. But obviously, like in-game stacks, I don't really play the chalk QB much. But like I could go AJ Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, in the same like as a run back.
Yeah. So when I build my builds for 150, one of my rules is to also run back wide receiver one with a wide receiver or running back. So it's like it's like a secondary stack. So I put like stack wide receiver with exactly one running back wide receiver from the opposing team. So
yeah, that's a good rule.
And that's a perfect one you can use in like Amon-Ra St. Brown and AJ Brown to avoid the pairing with Hurts, which is what you were saying. And if Hurts has a big game, he may be vulturing the touchdowns with his legs. So
I get what you're saying. Yeah, it can work against AJ in that scenario.
Yep. All right. Anything like what's going on with like the small like under 5K like range? Because we got guys like Jacoby Myers potentially. We've got. I mean,
I don't think that Miami has their top corner. So I think Myers or Parker, one of them, whoever would get Byron, I forget his name, but they could be in a better spot, I guess.
Kendrick Bourne.
Kadarius Toney is 4,100 and is electric and was probably going to be chalk, but now there's some reports saying that he might be in the doghouse a little bit.
I saw that too.
Yeah, and then, but I mean,
wait, there
Sterling,
was a report what that he was in the doghouse?
Silva was saying that he said that there's a chance he may be in the new regime's doghouse.
Well,
and merely just rotate in as a wide receiver 3 or 4.
This is interesting because my actual favorite play, even though I'm not going to play Daniel Jones, and if I have to pick one for the Millie Maker,
I know who it is.
Sterling.
No, it's not Sterling. And I told Bobby, so Bobby's cheating because I already told him this. But I think Wan'Dale Robinson at 3K, Stone Min, this guy. He played. I don't think he played that much in the preseason, but I think it's because they already view him as NFL ready. They view him as he's ready to be on the field week 1 now. We've seen it with certain guys, and then we see other guys like James Cook, where I thought it was clear when how they used James Cook. They already knew he wasn't going to play that much, right? They were going to use him in like just a few spots here and there. But it was already clear Buffalo had Zach Moss and Devin Singletary, and they were going to kind of split it in their eyes. I think Wan'Dale Robinson's at the point where I think he's not going to be in and out. I think he's going to play a good deal on this team. And I don't think Kenny Galladay is that good. I think Colin Johnson getting hurt. He was one of their best wide receivers in preseason, so now he's out. So they got Tony Slayton, who was kind of down in the depth chart. He was playing a lot in preseason, Slayton, where Wan'Dale Robinson wasn't. So I don't know. I think that he could end up being the third wide receiver here. And for a Millie Maker Dart, I think he's very interesting at 3K. Not saying he's, the best, most optimal cheap play on the slate. I'm just saying I think he's interesting here.
Scott Barrett was tweeting out a while ago. There were some people were like high on Sterling Shepard and saying Scott Barrett tweeted out crazy stat, especially in light of Dan's prediction, with the guy who was saying that he predicts Shepard will lead the team in receptions. But he was saying that Shepard has hit 17 fantasy points in 5 of his last 5 healthy games with Daniel Jones active, averaging 23.1 fantasy points per game.
The interesting thing about this offense is I do think they're going to try and spread it, and they're going to get quick passes, ball out. And I think that's the way they're going to go about it here against Tennessee, who pretty sure was pretty stout against the run last year. The passing game, though, I think their
secondary is not great.
So that's my point is, even though you're not targeting Daniel Jones, all their receivers are cheap. So you could try and take a stab on a Sterling Shepard if you got that feeling. Maybe you still think Kadarius Toney's the guy, or you want to take a stab on the young rookie. It's all kind of feel, obviously, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a ton to like here, this whole thing. I mean, I'll just throw some plays out there like Jalen Waddle, like Mike Williams, like Hunter Renfrow that we talk about, Brandon Cooks. Like these guys are all going to get extremely low ownership. Like when you start looking down, and these are all like really good plays. Amon-Ra St. Brown. So, man, there is so much to like at wide receiver, but obviously it's going to all start with your stacks. But
it's going back to like what we kind of hit on is one of these 1 p.m. games is going off. So those receivers that you kind of hit on, they could be in those games if you're willing to use one of those QBs and differentiate yourself. It might be more of a $5, but
another rookie I think is interesting is Chris Olave. I think he fits way better with Jameis Winston than the other 2 receivers, Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry. They're like short and intermediate guys, quick pass guys. Jameis Winston's not that type of quarterback. He wants to go down the field with his. I think Chris Olave is the perfect receiver fit with Jameis Winston here, and so I think he's another guy. I also personally, I'm a little biased because I have him in like my dynasty leagues and stuff, but I think he's the best receiver in the class.
What about George Pickens?
For this slate or just overall?
For this slate.
Is Deontay Johnson definitely out?
Let me pull up the latest on him. So he's saying that he's going to be playing Johnson.
I probably can't play Pickens if he's going to be in.
Any other guys? Like, I'm just trying to think of the young guy. I know we don't know. What about if Drake London plays?
I just worry about, is he going to get Lattimore?
Probably.
I mean, he's going to – Marcus May and Lattimore are both solid. May solid, right? Like,
should I be higher on London than what I am? I'm not – I don't know.
No, because this is a perfect segue over to tight end, because why play him when you can just play Kyle Pitts?
Yeah, I'm with Kirk here. I'm with Kirk.
So let's move on.
Let's
move on over to tight end. Kelsey is going to probably be the most popular because, man. So you think of he's actually averaged less points per game with Tyreek out as opposed to in, but it just makes perfect sense from like a usage standpoint, like that Kelsey should be the number 1 option at all times. Any close competitive game, they're probably going to be looking to just feed him. Darren Waller he was the man, right, at wide receiver for Las Vegas. Now it's Devontae Adams, but what that does is that frees at least no one's going to be glued to him all game. So he's still a monster red zone threat, monster threat in general. I can see him doing well. Mark Andrews, obvious. Can call him a wide receiver 1 for Lamar. I mean, so you're basically getting with 1, 2, 3, 4. The top 4 are wide receiver 1s, right? Like Travis Kelce, Darren Waller. Well, Waller's more of like a wide receiver 2. Mark Andrews, wide receiver 1. Pitts is probably a wide receiver 1. And then maybe you could say Goddard, but I wouldn't. But so I think that's like the 4, like the high flashy guys there. Then there's my baby. There's little Dylan. You can hear him in the background.
Baby D's over there.
Initials are DK.
Oh, that's good.
Bodes well for the season.
I hope so. I'm gonna hit mute and let you guys talk about tight end.
Yeah. All right. Well, Bob, we'll hit it real quick. So I have it as Darren Waller is my favorite guy. I think that this year, Darren Waller, obviously health is just an obvious thing, right? We say like stay healthy or be there. Like that's for everybody. So Darren Waller plays in this system with Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, Derek Carr, with Josh McDaniels. I think Darren Waller has a massive season. Darren Waller is going to see more kind of like non-bracketed one-on-one coverage than he ever has, especially when they get into the red zone and goal line situations where, remember, Darren Waller, that is where he's used the most. And Derek Carr loves throwing to him. The problem is the defense knows that too. So the defense is trying to scheme to like keep him out. But now Devontae Adams, who's one of the better just overall in general, like red zone wide receivers when it comes to that situation, back with Derek Carr for his college quarterback. Who are you going to, double? Who you can't just double everyone. And then they got Renfrow too. So I think Darren Waller is in a really good spot for the season. I like him this week. He's my top guy. And then I have Kyle Pitts right below him. What do you think of that top kind of range?
Yeah, I like that. One thing with Waller, I just was wondering, like, I think he probably assumes like a Gronkowski type role, like he's going to run those seam routes. Derwin James is there, so that's one of the issues with him. But he's 5'4", right? So it's kind of priced in almost.
The way I look at it, Bob, is especially at tight end, all these guys are going to be 500 to 800 more in about 2 weeks. Yeah. So we're getting a value on these top dudes.
I get what you're saying, 100%. No, I don't mind Waller. Andrews would be, I think, my favorite. I know we're paying up for 6,800, and you say like all these people are realizing what you're realizing too at the same time. It's like you can this could be a double tight end week. I wouldn't do it in the $5, but if you're playing like higher stakes, I think it's definitely viable because of the point JSU just made. All of these guys their prices are going to increase as we move forward throughout the season, and especially at this position. Like these guys, they're all guys that like Waller's probably going to be 6'8" when the season ends. You know what I mean? So you're getting a very hefty discount. But that for me is why Andrews going up against the Jets would be my number one, just because paying up to 6,800. A lot of people are going to do that at other positions, and the Jets he's going to see a huge usage bump with Marquise gone, and the offense is tailored to the tight ends. So he's going to be my first. Kelsey'd probably be my second. Then I could go Waller. One guy I think is pretty sneaky is Robert Tonyan. If we think that Lazard's not going to play, I think Tonyan is a guy that you really want to give some consideration to. Everyone looking to Jones. Jones is fine, 100%. Like he's definitely seen increased usage in situations when Devontae isn't in, but I think Tonyan's going to go overlooked. And then Hunter Henry, I think versus Miami, I think he just makes sense. He's someone that I'd have some interest in. Irv Smith going down the list, if you like that game, staying in that Green Bay, Minnesota game. And Brevin Jordan, I think that tops it off if we're going all the way down. Those are the tight ends I kind of have in my play. I got to whittle it down, but those are guys.
I like the Irv Smith call. I like especially if you like Kirk Cousins. I like the Tonyan call too, because listen, at least we know he has, when it comes down to touchdowns, the red zone, he's got that kind of, upside there where maybe he's not going to get you 100 yards and like 8 catches. I don't think he's getting you that, but could he get you 4 catches for 40 and 2 touchdowns? Absolutely. And I think you'd take it. So I like that call as a sneaky play. So yeah, I mean,
that pretty much. Oh, sorry, you go, Kirk.
No, go ahead. I was just going to give one sneaky play.
No, I was just gonna transition from tight end to defense because JSU was on a time crunch to get that in.
Yeah, we're going to be done. We don't do defense, so you just saved all that time.
We don't do defense.
Defense, Bobby.
Defense?
No.
I love some defenses this week. They're sneaky defenses.
Pat Freiermuth, baby Gronk.
All right, I don't mind some Pat, rookie quarterback. I could go there.
All right, let's just close out the show. We are done now. One thing that stuck out to me is how much I love Aaron Jones now. But let's close it out with a favorite stack from each of you guys. Little off the board, not, as off the board as you want to get.
Favorite stack? I think my favorite game stack, well, it's not off the board. I mean, I think my favorite game stack is probably the Green Bay, Minnesota game. Just because I'm trying to think of all the play, and I think there's going to be a lot of plays that I want from that game overall. But if I needed to give like a off the board game, I guess it would be kind of off the board, but I guess the next game I'd go with in the 1:00 games would be the New Orleans Atlanta game. I think it's a simple game that you can stack up. That's going to be somewhat off the board because you could play Kyle Pitts on the run back. Kyle Pitts will have ownership, but like Chris Olave won't have that much ownership. I don't think Jameis Winston is being really talked up a bunch. So yeah, I kind of like that pairing. And then Kamara, Kirk likes Kamara, and he's another guy that's just in that running back mix of running backs that could get lost in the shuffle. And by the end of the week, he's 5% owned. Who knows? Right? Maybe that happens. So he could be really sneaky in tournaments. So I like that stack if we're going off the board.
Jameis better check down, dude, because this is the week to do it. Falcons do not cover the running back, so
they never have. But
never have.
The only issue is Jameis doesn't like to, for whatever reason, he just has to chuck. Check
What's
down
funny though is
player.
everyone likes Michael Thomas, and what does Michael Thomas do? Like Michael Thomas had that big year because Drew Brees literally his arm wouldn't go past 15 yards.
No, I'm with you. I think my stack would be from the 1:00 games. I'm going to say Houston. I wanted to go to the Miami Dolphins, but I just think that the weather there, I'm a little worried. In Houston, we get the dome. It's a way to differentiate Taylor builds if you're going to go that route. It all depends on ownership for me, though. I think obviously the best game stack is the Chargers Raiders. That would be the one that I would have picked first, but I'm just trying to go off the board. So I'd say the Houston side of Houston and Indianapolis.
I think that's the stack for me too, that game. I think you guys both sold me on it, but I think I'd probably play it with Derek Carr, which is nauseating, but I
think you'll be fine with Carr. I think Carr's a good play there.
I mean, Renfro. I mean, what are they just gonna pepper their shine?
Kirk, listen to me. The Chargers are gonna score.
Yes,
they're not stopping the Chargers from scoring. That defense is not going to be very good for the Raiders. So I just don't see how there's not points in this game unless Chargers just stonewall the Raiders.
Which is possible. And you see Derek Carr making stupid play after stupid play or whatever. Anyways, but yeah, the thing is are they going to use their shiny new toy with Devontae and get him a bunch of production, or do we go back to the Josh McDaniels and Hunt for Renfro, the Wes Welker of the group here.
I think
Renfro
is the sneaky, he's not sneaky, obviously.
Bobby just got friggin' wood under the table. Don't let him fool you. He loves Renfro.
I'm a big Renfro.
When Renfro's even brought up, the you can just hear the table underneath him just start pounding.
All right, I think that's a wrap for
and real quick too, anyone wants any of my content over at Run Pure Sports, NFL 15 is a promo code. You can get in 15% for life over with us as long as you don't unsubscribe. And all my content, core plays, player pools, full player pools for the main slates, stuff like that. It's all going to be up probably by tomorrow. And it's every week for NFL, NBA. You'll have all my content up there.
Yeah, and you'll even see me in the chat over at some of those shows sometimes when I'm not on over at RotoGrinders. We've got a nice relationship still with everybody over there. So check them out. Check us out. Bobby's got his core plays. I'll be on with Bobby doing Grinders Live Sunday morning. So let's crush. Let's bank. Let's start off right from the top. Big week.
I'm with it. 100%.
Let's do it.
All right,
boys.
This has been the RG DFS Tournament Takes podcast, and we will catch you next week. Thanks.